I just feel like it's going to be one of those things that you'll know it when you watch it. You're going to know instantly when you watch it if this thing is right or if this thing feels a little bit off. So I don't think it's going to be something where I'm like, all right, I don't know. He went for 189, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Was that good enough? I don't think it's going to have to be like that. I think it's going to have to be more, how did it look? How did it feel? Did it feel right? And I think the advantage that Shedeur has in this game is that Dillon Gabriel gave him one of the better launching points he could possibly have into making at least an offense look competent. You're not following Joe Burrow. You're not following Lamar Jackson. You're not following Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. You're following Dillon Gabriel. That bar's so low that I have a feeling this is a good setup. Like they always tell you in radio, you don't want to be the guy that follows the guy. Right? You want to be the guy that follows the guy that followed the guy. You know, you don't want to follow Howard Stern leaves. You don't want to be the one that's like, all right, I guess I'm next up in that chair. No, thank you. That's not the job you want. You want the job where it's like, all right, yeah, maybe they did need to make a move. Maybe they did need to make a change. And that's what we have today here, Coach, where I think the fan base was exhausted with Dillon Gabriel. I think they're spent. I think they're tired of watching an offense not be able to do anything, tired of watching an offense sputter, and they're ready for the Shedeur Sanders show today. And more people than not are pulling for him to go ahead and be something special.
Well, I think it's important. It's not the I told you so. It's looking for competent quarterback play, and they've struggled. And for me, I've always said I don't think Dillon has played nearly as bad as people think. However, he hasn't been impactful. So can Shedeur make an impact on this offense, and can he move the offense consistently, especially after those scripted plays, which I think he'll be very sharp in today. All
right, so how are we doing today, Coach? You feeling good yourself? You asked me how I was feeling. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. There's a level of excitement. I can feel your juice over here, which is kind of nice. There's a level of excitement. For a 2-8 football team, sometimes you need something. And really, I've said it before, the coordinator and the quarterback are two. When those things get switched, you can kind of have a little momentum, whether it's deserved or not. And everybody can argue that either way. But there's a level of excitement. If you're a Browns fan, why not be excited today? Let's see what this young man can do.
Exactly right. I want to hear from you guys all day long. 216-474-0092. Kickoff conditions driven by Jeremy Hamilton and our good friends over there at Classic Chevy of Mentor. Been driving Chevys for a million years. I told you, Coach, my very first vehicle in life was a Chevy Impala. My second vehicle in life, a Chevy Impala. So nice you get it twice. That's what I love about Classic Chevy of Mentor. They're always taking care of me, and they're always taking care of you as well for so many years. Kickoff conditions, it's a dome. So we're good on kickoff conditions this week. This is going to be nice. And this is part of the advantage that Shedeur does have, though. We're not talking about 30-mile-per-hour winds like we did last week against Baltimore. We're not talking about any sort of rain or snow or anything crazy. It's a dome. The game plan is set up for yourself. Everything. It's not Dillon Gabriel's game plan. Let's see what you can do here. And that's our kickoff conditions, again, driven by our good friends over there at Classic Chevy of Mentor. All right, I want to play a couple of Shedeur clips for you guys. He spoke on the Browns radio network about 25 minutes ago, and there was a couple things that stood out. Let's get to the first one about settling in and needing to get chemistry with the rest of the offense, and then we'll go from there. Here we go.
Do you feel like on that last drive you kind of settled in and were letting your talent shine?
No, I feel like you got to settle in with your players first. I think that's what is the biggest thing. It's not really about the defense fully. It's about your players. So, like, you could talk to them and do all that, but when you don't get, actual throws, actual different things, you don't know people's speeds and all this stuff actually throwing to them. So that's what I was up against. So finally figuring out, it's like boxing. That's why I compare it to. It's like boxing. First 2 rounds, first whatever, go on. You just figuring somebody out.
Yeah, feeling them out.
You feeling them out. You figuring out and all that. Then when it's time to go, it's time to go. So I know moving forward, that was good that situation happened. Everything happened how it happened, because it definitely gave a chip on the shoulder for sure. Which there's plenty of chips on them. There's plenty of them on them, but there's definitely something realizing like, oh, you could get out there and do that.
He's got more chips than a Frito-Lay factory, Coach. Like the man, I love that he walks around with chips on his shoulder. I love it. It's so Baker Mayfield for me in many ways, and how he looks at things and how he perceives these things. Like he took last week and what happened as like okay, you guys think that you're gonna laugh at me now. You're gonna make jokes off of that. All right, I'm gonna use this week, and he talked about it all week long. Like he didn't even talk to his dad for a couple days. Like locked in. If you want to come see him, you got to pull up to his house, as he said. Like I love his mentality. You could tell. He's as focus gets, but speaking to the idea about the wide receivers in particular and learning your teammates and understanding what guys' little tendencies are, how important is something like that relative to just a week of practice to be able to figure out, like, all right, hey, when I call Isaiah Bond mid-play to move over there, he actually moves over there.
Well, I think the idea of getting first-team reps this week is a little bit overrated. You really only, at every level of football, you got 2 to 3 work days getting ready for the next week. I think it'll help just his knowing that he's the guy. More than the reps, that will come. That's still going to take game reps. Even if he's taking those those reps in practice, it's not the same speed. But I think knowing going in, knowing that the script's going to be based on him a little bit more, I don't think the game plan will be that different. I think both guys can handle the game plan. I've heard a lot of people say it's going to be completely different game plan. I don't think so.
We'll get to the game plan coming up in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I just think it's going to...
Brought to you by Romeo's Pizza, romeospizza.com.
I just think it comes down to can he make the plays and can he be impactful? In my, I'm old, so in my 40-plus years of football, usually when the surrounding players aren't elite, you're going to have highs and lows because they're not able to get you out of jail free, right? There's no chase where you throw it up and he goes and makes a play. So, like they did with Dylan, you would hope they would have patience through the highs and the lows.
Okay, I wanted to hear more, and I wanted to hear more about, like, hey, the Hungry Dogs crew is what they call them, right? Now, Hungry Dogs run faster. The Caden Davises, the Gage Marvinan. A
lot of that perception he has, right? Sometimes those guys bring it on themselves, right? And they like to do that because they like to play with a chip on their shoulder. Some of the issues Shedeur's had, sometimes he brings that on, but that's kind of how he does. Same with Baker, right? They like to have that, like, people are against me, fight your way out of a corner. A lot of people, I like to coach like that. I like to coach like we're always the underdog. It's easier to coach. It's easier to motivate. That's how some people do it. And he's, the good thing you like about him is, growing up in the house he did, this game is not going to be too big for him going in. He's not going to be overly nervous. So he'll be able to judge his play based on what he does. And I think, once again, for me, I think there's going to be lots of good and lots of bad today. You hope the good outweighs the bad, and then he'll get better.
Okay, but speak to the idea that you can have wide receivers that you don't know. For instance, he didn't really throw much to Jerry Jeudy. He didn't throw much to David Njoku. He didn't throw much to a lot of the guys that he was having to throw to on Sunday, and now he's got a full week, and it's a full week of practicing with all these guys, also mixed in the other guys like the Gage Marvinans that he knows. How much can you really do in a week of time?
Not a lot, not as much as people think, right?
I wouldn't think you could do much. That's why I was kind of excited hearing him talk about it, because he's talking about it as if like it's a boxing match. In the first 2 rounds, you're feeling each other out, but then you can pick up the tendencies and you can go from there. And if anything, I heard more hope from him than at least I think what I was expecting in my head.
Yeah, I just think, the idea that he's the quarterback, and when you're the quarterback, all, those first 15 scripted plays are for you.
Yeah.
How you're going to attack are for you. What coverages you look at. Everybody you're the guy now. You're the guy in charge of the franchise, so everything goes that way. I think that has a lot more to do than he understands, if a comeback is a comeback, a curl is a curl. Now, it's seeing it at game speed, and you can only do that in the game. So I think that's where he'll need to really, he'll get better as the game goes along and as he continues to play, because you got to get game reps.
Of course you do. That's like anything in life, right? You need the reps. All right, let's get one more from Shedeur here. The message to the fans today as he gets ready to go ahead and take on the Raiders.
I'm thankful for everything. I'm thankful for y'all. I'm thankful for the team, and I'm extremely focused. And I know what I want to do with my opportunity. So, I'm not too up. I'm not too down right now. I'm level. I'm back to being me.
All right, that sounds good. That's where you have to be. You talked about like the pressure that he doesn't have because he's Deion's kid, because he has gone through the ringer of sorts. That kind of speaks to that right there, and I genuinely do believe it. I did think he was amped up a little bit last week. I thought there were some throws that you saw, Coach, where he was ramped up. We talked about the Isaiah Bond throw. I thought that was just an excited person in that moment. Hopefully that kind of subsides, and now you get to this week, and he knows what it feels like, he knows what it looks like, and now he can be a little bit more calm.
Well, I think the thing that I like about that last clip was the word level, and that is really important at the quarterback position, because there's times where he's going to make a huge play, you have to be level. There's times you're going to throw an interception, you got to be level, and I think that's so important for Shedeur today, because there's going to be times where things are really good and really bad, both. He's got to be able to come back regardless.
All right, I want to hear from you guys. 216-474-0092. On Twitter, obviously, you can find us all. Twitter Reactions brought to you by Shop and Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. We have the game plan, and you want to listen to this game plan, okay? Because I don't know what Coach is going to throw at me, but I want to talk about the first 15. I want to talk about what exactly the Browns should be doing. Are we going to run the ball a ton today with Judkins? How much should Shedeur Sanders actually be able to throw the ball down the field? Or are they going to try to maybe put him in some of those golden handcuffs they try to put Dylan Gabriel in and Joe Flacco in? I know you well enough at this point. There's some apprehension that I'm playing across from right now today, and so I need to know where you're at right now. I'm not going to drag this thing out. I'm not going to wait until 2.5 more hours to be like, wait a second, Coach, you think what about today? Tell me what's going on. Tell me what's on your mind.
Very guarded in the expectations of a young man who has not been in this situation. Very guarded of, the reps and all those kind of things, but everything built up, right? It's the so much I told you so, whether it be either way. The pressure that he's saying he's not feeling. Is he not really feeling it, or is he saying that? Because in my experience, you say those things, right? You say those things when you are nervous. So I'm guarded. I'm also guarded because when you look at young quarterbacks, when they play really well, they're usually getting a big run, or they're getting a great catch or run after catch, kind of get them going.
Yeah, some help.
I don't know if the Browns have that for him. So when he gets down, sometimes to help a young quarterback, you get him an easy catch. You get him you get it to your alpha and let him make a play. That builds him up. I'm not sure if the Browns have that for him. So I'm guarded. Now, once again, that doesn't mean I don't have high expectations for him and want him to be successful. I want quarterback play to be good. But in my long history of, being involved with football, this is the idea of what it really means to be a team sport. People around Shedeur have to help him today, or he will not be successful. So, no, there's a level of excitement, just guarded, just because my experience tells me if you don't have a guy outside who can take it to the house for you, sometimes, expectations aren't met.
All right, so what you're describing, though, isn't really anything that's Shedeur's fault. What you're describing is essentially a bad offensive line, wide receivers with a bunch of drops, and nobody outside of Jerry Jeudy that looks like a number one on this team. You're saying maybe the deck is stacked against him is how you see it.
Well, I want to see, can he impact that, right? Can he impact Jeudy and Tillman and Njoku and Fannin and Juggins, all these guys? Can he impact these guys? And maybe it doesn't turn out to be where he throws, as I said with when I go over the game plan, if winning is the number one priority, this isn't a Shedeur game. And that's the reality of if you want to win today because of the team you're playing. It's always got to be about winning. And if they focus on Shedeur today.
Well, what game is it then? If it's not a Shedeur game for winning, is this a Judkins game? What is this?
This is a Judkins game. This is a game that you make sure that you don't turn the ball over. So those, there's going to be times, the term game manager is always negative. It's not. This would be check down Charlie.
Okay,
it's important.
But here's where I get a little confused, Coach.
Okay.
And you obviously know way more football than I'll ever know. You've forgotten more football than I'll ever know. Okay, so just help me out here, because I think some people are listening to you and they're like, all right, that sounds good. Game manager, check down Charlie, all these type of things. I've told you about quarterbacks in my past that have told me they think that's a great thing to be called that. They like that. But here's the confusion. Dillon Gabriel didn't turn the ball over. Dillon Gabriel tried to be the check down Charlie. We still lost a lot of games with Dillon Gabriel.
Well, and once again, and I agree, and he didn't play well in some of those situations, but the bottom line is that if you create short fields today against this Raiders team, if you create short fields, you give them a chance to win. If this Raiders team has to go 89 yards, I'm not sure they can do it once. This is how bad that offensive line is. So do you say...
Because we said some of these things before the Jets game, too, though. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, the Jets are one of the worst teams in football, and it was like, just manage the game. Don't make any big mistakes. Don't do anything. I feel like we need a little bit more than that. I feel like in theory, it's a good concept, but in actual practice, I'm worried about that and how that plays out.
Well, once again, though, I don't think it has to be... you don't have to build in shots and build in. He's just got to take it when it's there. There's shots that Dillon's missed, and I pointed those out. Being a guy who thinks Dillon has a bright future, I pointed those out as well. There's things he missed. We got to see if Shedeur doesn't miss those. So it's not anything built in. He just can't take a chance when it's not necessary. He can't try to squeeze it into a small window. If they run the ball well and you get 3 in coverage, take your shots. If the window is there for you to take your shot and that guy is open, take it. You don't need to push it today because defensively you're going to control the game.
If you made me bet, I would bet we have a few moments where it's like, Shedeur, what was that? Shedeur, what happened there? Shedeur, how did you take that sack in that moment? Or how did you throw that ball? I think the good, though, is going to outweigh all of that. And I think him stretching the field is going to be good. And I think it's going to be good even for Quinshawn as well in that run game, because that run game will be so much harder to predict when it's coming and where it's coming from.
Well, that's the idea of balance. And once again, the one thing he does is he stretches the field. He's a very good long ball thrower, and he will, he's a gunslinger, so he will take those chances. It's taking those chances when they're there, not forcing the chances. Don't force the window open, throw into the open window. And that's kind of what he's got to look at today is if it is there, which I think has a lot to do with Judkins, the Raiders have to move that 8th guy down in the box. If they do, then take those shots over top. When they're there, don't force anything. So it's not really doing anything different. It's just taking what's there, and if you get a shot, take it, but protect the ball because this Raiders offense can't go 90 against this Browns defense.
All right, let's get to the game plan. Brought to you by Romeo'sPizza.com, the official 92.3 The Fan tailgate show choice for pizza, wings, and more. Romeo'sPizza.com. All right, Coach. Well, on that, I mean, you kind of hinted towards the game plan, but how much Quinshon do we have today versus how much Shedeur Sanders really takes over this game?
Well, let's just start with the beginning. The first 15 plays, right? The first 15 plays have to be really what he does best. So in my experience, usually the coordinators, head coaches sit down and go, Shedeur, what do you like? What plays do you like? What routes do you like? What formations do you like? So he'll be really comfortable with those first 15 plays. I think that's important to get them off to a good start. If they're up a touchdown or two, this Raiders team can't come back. So that's very important. Got to get the ball out of his hands. Don't let him take sacks. Take some of that, set him up for success. So take some of that ability to hold on to the ball, take that away from him. Create quick pre-snap reads for him so he gets the ball out of his hands and starts gets in a rhythm. Be a good game manager. As you said, check down Charlie. Those things are okay today. Take your shots when they're presented to you, but don't try to make this about you. Make it about winning. And if you have to hand off today, there will be a game, if you're the starter, where you have to carry it. Today won't be the day, I don't think, but make the plays when they're presented to you. Defensively, take it very, very simple. They don't run the ball at all. They're going to try to get Agenti and those guys in space. Quick game, make sure we tackle well. The Browns got to tackle well. And then for sure, Brock Bowers and Mayer, their tight ends, are very good players.
Yeah.
And Browns have struggled with those tight ends. So make sure you have help over top with those two.
So what happened to this Raiders team, though? Because offensively now, you've said a couple times, like they can't go 90 yards. It's not a thing for them. Geno Smith was good last year. Brock Bowers is one of the best tight ends in the game. They go a couple guys deep when it comes to tight ends. Jacoby Myers being traded, not great. Tyler Lockett's not Tyler Lockett that he used to be. But you can't tell me it's just because of a bad offensive line and wide receivers, because I would make an argument we have worse pass catchers and a worse offensive line than what Geno Smith has to work with.
Well, yeah, it's been consistency, right? That complementary football they have not done. If you watch all their games, they'll get a big turnover or they'll score and then the team will go right down and score again, or they'll get a turnover. It's really complementary football. They don't help each other out. Geno's been very inconsistent. He's been very inconsistent from 15 to 25 yards, which he's usually, and I'm not talking percentage-wise.
I mean, he looks night and day, Coach, different. I mean, there was a stretch there where it was like, oh, wow, Geno really resurrected his career, and he looks this and he looks that, and how great does he look? And he can't do anything this season.
Well, and if you watched last week against Dallas,
oh my gosh, I watched the whole game.
So there's also a level of, if you look like when Dylan was under pressure with things getting in his face after he would get to his first progression, or Flacco, same thing with Shedeur today. There's times where Geno gets to the top of his drop and he's getting hit.
He's got a negative touchdown-interception ratio, which is basically impossible in today's day and age to have a negative. He leads the league in interceptions. He looks like he's just a different player right now. We've seen good players struggle against this Browns defense. Joe Burrow in week 1 struggled. Lamar Jackson last week struggled. We see really good Jordan Love. They put up 10 points, Green Bay's offense did, against this Browns defense. We see good to great players struggle against this Browns defense. It feels like Geno Smith is going to get cooked today.
Well, then their tackles, they don't help them out either, so they don't chip a lot. They're going to have to chip all day today. But what the Browns do, this is the example of what this defensive line has done, adding Malik Collins and Mason Graham. If you double Miles today, putting these guys inside can't hang up. If you think the Browns tackles have played poorly, the Raiders tackles have played even worse. Forsythe and everybody they've had in there have played really, really bad. They're turnstiles right now, and they don't help. Well, the Browns have a number of guys, and that's, if they like to get 5 out, he will be under pressure. Last week he was under pressure like I've seen no quarterback in all the film I've watched this year. Like I said, he'll get to his 5-step drop. As he puts his right foot in the ground, he's being hit.
He is 4th right now in the league in sacks this year. He takes a bunch of them. Cam Ward is number 1 in the league. We face Cam Ward in 2 weeks. That's why a lot of people, we'll talk about Myles Garrett a little bit later on. That's why a lot of people are expecting a big Myles Garrett day today.
Well, and Geno's not he has, but Geno, like Cam Ward likes to extend, very, Patrick Mahomes. Geno's a guy that he's trying to get rid of the ball. He's trying to throw the football. He just can't get to his top of his drop. This is a porous offensive line, more than even the Browns by a long shot, because they're bad inside too. So yes, this could be a big game for the defensive line. And even if they chip on Miles, these other guys could really have a big day as well.
He's been sacked 31 times this year. He was sacked 50 times last year in Seattle, which is obviously a bunch too. 31 the year prior than that in a full season. That was the last time he made a Pro Bowl while in Seattle. 216-474 below 92. That was our game plan, by the way, brought to you by our good friends over there at Romeo'sPizza.com, the official 92.3 The Fan tailgate show choice for pizza, wings, and more. Romeo'sPizza.com. Jeremy in Elyria up next on The Fan. Hello, Jeremy. How you doing today? Yo, Jeremy. Jeremy going once, twice. He'll grab some bench. We knew Jeremy didn't have it in him. Did we not all know that? We knew Jeremy didn't have it in him. All right, 216-474-0092. We want your guys' reaction, your guys' opinion. What do you expect out of Shedeur Sanders today? What if they do just dumb down the game plan? What if they do make the game plan a lot of Judkins, a lot of the defense, and then you walk out of this one and you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't even know that Shedeur got a true chance to even throw the ball. Now, the sad part about that, Coach, would be Dylan Gabriel practiced on Friday. I would imagine then if that's the case, and this is the hard, I think, tug and pull that Shedeur is going to have here. If he plays the game plan that is that, where you be the check down Charlie, you be the guy that's going to play within the numbers and do everything the proper way, well, even if you end up with a win and you just look pedestrian, you're probably not getting a chance out there next week to go ahead and be the starting quarterback as well. You see the tug and pull here? Like he has to impress in a way that Dylan Gabriel had not impressed. He has to impress in a way that these other quarterbacks hadn't impressed. And so if you're Shedeur, you have to be balancing out the idea that, one, you do have to make plays. You have to make it irrefutable to this coaching staff that you could do this at a big stage and be able to consistently be out there. But you also want to win the game, and you also want to be able to follow what the script is as well. And so I feel like this has got to be this is tough. I don't even know what you do in this aspect if you're Shedeur. If, in fact, they try to bury Shedeur and try to dummy down that game plan and turn him into Dylan Gabriel and turn him into a check down Charlie.
Well, here's the bottom line. Do you win? Because if you win, I think it's more of that's your argument, not how well you played, if you the goods and bad, did you win? Because if the focus is to win and he goes out there and wins where 17 guys before him haven't, then you got to take that into consideration as well. That would be my argument if I'm Shedeur or whoever, is that you impacted your team enough to win. And in this game, because of the defense being as poor as they were, it dictated a handoff.
But we know how things look, though. Like Davis Mills, for instance, has won 3 straight games with the Texans, right? So you're winning games. Congratulations. You get to be a backup quarterback. But nobody in their right mind is like, oh, well, I need to sign him instantly to my team next year. Or even on top of it, no one's like, hey, maybe when C.J. Stroud gets back, maybe C.J. Stroud is riding the pine. Like, that's lunacy. We don't think that way. But, like, wins matter 100%. But I'm also sitting there saying to myself, if I'm Shedeur, I got maybe one chance to start, one chance if Dylan's going to come back next week. I have to show them that I can do this in a level that they don't even know that I can do this at.
Well, if you look at what Dylan did, and my big thing with Dylan has been he's been non-impactful. The plays that he could have had that were those chunk plays, they've been built into this offense. They've been there. He's missed them. Can Shedeur hit those today? When you start saying I got to make an impression, that's when mistakes happen.
For sure. I understand it.
So he's just got to take what's there. So it'll be there for him today. He's got to make sure he hits it.
As long as you're telling me it'll be there.
It'll be there.
Because what you were describing to me was a lot of 5-yard passes, and I don't want that.
And those are important, too.
And I'm cool with that for a little stretch, right? I'm all right with that. If you especially want to build up some confidence or whatever as well, you want to it's almost like a three-point specialist watching the ball go through the hoop. Like sometimes you just got to see completions be made. It would have been nice in the stretch of 7 incompletions that he had last week if he just saw a couple be caught. I think that would have been good for him, but like at some point too, if all they're giving him is a bunch of 5-yard passes and then here's Quinshawn, I do wonder if Shedeur is going to think to himself, I have to do something on my own here.
Well, if the progression takes you where it takes you, take it.
And it'll be there then.
So it'll be there.
As long as you tell me it'll be there.
The progression
then I know we'll get there, okay? As long as you tell me it's going to be there,
it'll be
then
there.
with Shedeur, I know he's going to take it there.
Then he'll take it because it's built into this offense. He's got it. When he sees it, he's got to take it. Can't force it.
Because Joe Flacco didn't really take it. Joe Flacco decided to go ahead and take the 5-yard passes, had the lowest ADOT in the NFL when he was the quarterback here for the first 4 weeks, then went to Cincinnati, and all of a sudden he was throwing the ball deep. And I just don't want that for Shedeur. I don't want Shedeur to look up, have his one opportunity, and you turn around and it's like, oh, I did the same thing Flacco did for 4 weeks. I let them basically turn me into that check down Charlie, and that's not really his game. Well, yeah, his game is accuracy, and his game is stretching the field, but his game isn't really, it's not being what Dylan Gabriel's been, and it certainly is not being what Joe Flacco was for the first 4 weeks of the season.
Well, you got to make sure there's a balance, right? You take those checkdowns, and you take those hitches, and you take those slants, and then you build off that. Then you get that secondary to squeeze down a little bit. You get the run game going. Remember, you got to marry everything together. It can't be drop back and throw it 50 times. It won't happen.
All right, 216-474-0092. We got to continue on this one. What do you want to see out of Shedeur today? If they try to turn him into a check down Charlie, what's his response going to be? And I get it. I'm telling him to go rogue in some respects because there's just an understanding there that this might be his one chance and his one opportunity. I would hate for him to turn around and look like Flacco did in the first 4 weeks or Gabriel look in the previous 6 and Because that's not him. That's not him. And ultimately, Coach, I think you're going to agree, you need to be you at the quarterback spot.
No question. That's why I think it'll be presented to him today, and he'll see it, and he'll take advantage of those. If he does, he's just got to make sure that's what he sees and not what the defense wants him to see.
They better not try to muzzle him. They better not. They need to go ahead and some birds aren't meant to be caged, Coach. He needs to go ahead and fly.